Welcome to the SA Entrepreneur. This is the show where we host South African entrepreneurs to talk about their journey and experiences in their respective industries. And today I have with me Simphiwe Zungu, who is the founder of City Eggs. He'll be talking more about the poultry industry. Help me welcome Simphiwe Zungu. Welcome, say, how are you?
Fulfilled. I'm satisfied, which is, I think, the most important thing.
No, that's great. You said you are fulfilled. Did you get into entrepreneurship and business seeking fulfillment, or was it a purely business venture when you went into poultry?
It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't purely. I've always wanted to be in business. Ne? I've always wanted to be in business, but it wasn't me going into business. I didn't go into poultry like firsthand. What started happening, I think it was 2014. I was still young, out and about and stuff like that. And then I realized, you know what, I need to do something about my life. I was 24 and I really, really like business. And then I had a friend of mine who taught me how to register companies and stuff like that. We started going out looking for the small tenders. I was still in Durban by then. And that's when I actually started making sacrifices in 2015. Sacrifices like time sacrifices because I was working a shift job where you would get in. We're working 3 shifts for the whole year. That year, that's when it started. And then later on, uh, that's when I said, okay, I have a knack for sacrifice because with business you need to have a knack for sacrifice. You need to be prepared to sacrifice.
You are saying that in business, you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your
That's the first
time.
thing.
That's the first thing.
That's the primary thing.
Okay, a lot of people don't want to take risk, and maybe using "don't want" is not the right sentence. A lot of people fear risk.
Mhm.
What can you say to somebody that wants to get into business? Can they avoid risk?
It depends. What kind of business do you want to go into? Because risks are not the same. The levels of risks are not of risk are not the same. For instance, uh, the, ukuthatha imali yakho, let's say you get ngizokwenza example nje with something that a lot of people now are familiar with, especially our age group. When you are going for a tender, you get a purchase order. Ukuthola i-purchase order, uma uthola i-purchase order, that's not a risk so much because we ask what your money is guaranteed from whoever gave you a purchase order. They want that. You give them the price, the quotation, and then you put your markup. And then it's not that much of a risk, but it's still business to some extent. Ne? And then there is a level at which you start something from scratch. Let's say maybe you're into music, where you start taking the money that you get from work, buying equipment, marketing, advertising, and stuff like that, without yet getting your money back until a certain time. That's a different kind of risk because you might not blow up. You might not you might not actually succeed and you might lose all that money and the time. So that risk is different. So it depends what kind of risk are you willing to take. But if you want that level of risk needs to be backed by a very high level of belief. First in yourself and what you want to do is going to work.
All right.
And to have that kind of belief, you need to give yourself time to prepare and plan to go into what you want to go into. So there's different countries, low level risk, high level risk. Everybody has their fair share, but you choose. But what you choose, you need to understand what it needs to be backed by in order for you to succeed.
What is that one skill? You said you need to prepare. So I'm assuming there's a lot of self development in preparation. What do I do? Should I read books? How can I self-develop? How can I invest in myself so that I am a
Yeah.
better business person?
Reading books is one way. Actually, that's how my journey started. My journey started by reading a book because as there's so many distractions. You have poor money, and you are young, you have some money, and you have some friends. You grew up here, you know the people here. You know what I did to get away from all that? I bought a
Mm-hmm.
book.
Okay.
I bought a book, and the name of the book was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That's the
Yay!
first book I bought with. That's the first
I've
book I
read
bought with my own
I've read The Alchemist.
money.
I
Yes, 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 yes.
I enjoy
Santiago,
the
the boy.
mm,
Yes, I bought that, and it helped me. It helped me avoid distractions, and the second thing, it helped me think faster and quicker, and it helped me concentrate. So it was the beginning of self development, and I've never left that habit. Even now in our study, I still keep some of these. I've never left that habit. I've never, and
mm,
it's a continuous thing. You'll never leave it. So that's the fundamental. Working on yourself. That's the
mm,
fundamental. The second part of preparation is knowing what you want to get into. Research about it. Study it if you can. Now you have YouTube. Study
yes.
it. If you see something, I love this thing. Study it. Research about it. If you can find someone who does something similar or in the same field, reach out to them, ask them how it's done better, ask them how
Mm,
they raise their game. If they're generous enough, and what I'm going to tell you is that most real entrepreneurs, real um, builders, they will reply to you with generosity. They will help you because it's part of who you need to be for you to succeed. You need to be able to
mm,
connect with people in all levels, under you, above you. You need to be generous. You need to be kind, but you need to be willing to help. So if you reach out to those people, they're going to help you. So
mm.
going back to your question, that's number two. Understanding what you're going to do, research, and number three, do the financials. How much are you really going to get back?
Is there a
Get
skill you
all
need
get
to do
all
financial? I know, sorry, I know a lot of people get stuck in the financials because they would say, okay, I haven't started a business because I don't have capital. And so capital becomes the first stumbling block in somebody wanting to get into business. How can you advise
Mhm.
someone when it comes to business financials? Where do I start? Say I'm not good at math, let's say for example,
Mhm.
and but I need to do
Mhm.
financials. How do I do business financials?
Starting a business doesn't need an accountant. Ne? If it needed an accountant, we wouldn't have a billion rand industry, Amatex. Just for instance, you wouldn't have. It's a billion rand business. It's a billion rand industry, Amatex, taxi owners.
Oh yes, yes.
If if it needed an accountant, if business needed an accountant to start, we wouldn't have that. So what you need to know with financials, you don't have to think rates of return, what, those fancy words. Don't start there. That's not the way to start. A way to start. I'm not an accountant, I'm a science person.
Yeah.
Best way to start is to do your research. Whatever you want to do, the service that you want to provide, the product that you want to sell, how much is it selling at the market? That's the first thing. The second thing, how much will it cost you to get it or have it in your possession or develop it so that you can supply it, service or product. You need to work out that. And then the difference from there, that's your gross. So gross profits, you see the fancy words and whatnot. That's what they're talking about. The difference between how much it costs for you to get a provided service and what you get back. So it needs to make sense. It needs to be positive. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't lose if you want to be in business. You should know it's okay. I'm making this and this money. Even if you're starting making, let's say, 5 rands per product or per item. I'm just making an example. As long as it is positive, and you can still continue, like, keep yourself afloat, because imagine there are things that you are doing for keeping yourself, in order to keep yourself afloat. You continue doing those things, and this is another thing: you don't start a business when you're desperate. It's not a good idea to start a business when you're desperate. So you start a business at your level. You understand? Don't let
Okay.
don't let it take from you too much. You understand? But start
Mm,
normal to Gala on 5 rand. You know what you're going to do
mm,
as you understand the space better and the sector better. You find much smarter ways of doing it that's going to give you high returns. 10 rands, the next month, 15 rands, the next 3 months, 20 rands, the next 3 months, $50. You understand? But you started making 5 rands. So you just need to start. You just need to. So, I'm a financials. Don't think something complex. Financials, how much am I selling this thing for? And how much is it going to cost me to get this thing in my possession before I sell it to somebody? And how much does it cost me to sell it? Because sometimes to sell it will cost you time, definitely. Sometimes it will cost you money, because in the process of selling, you need to ship, you need to position yourself, you need to reach out to your market, go to where your market is. Let's say you are selling those codes that they use when they, I don't know what they call them. I haven't been grooving recently. So let's say you understand ukuthi if ngihlala sizokhuluma ngomlazi, because now wasemlazi. If I stay ka-H and I see that my biggest market ika-A, ka-Max nakam-J, imali yokuthi ngigibele lapho, okay, I've got those calls now, they are with me. Imali yokuthi ngigibele ngisuke ka-H ngiye ka-K, that's the cost of selling. So you
mm.
also include that. And then lawo ma-cost lawo must be covered by the thing that you are selling. This code, the number of codes that I sell needs to cover all my costs. Maybe you'll say kuzongithatha mhlambe ama-calls asamalahle awu-10 for me to make back the money that I got to position to be for this call to be in my possession and to sell this code. Maybe finding there's some call out and I'll have covered those costs. Then that's what they call in your fancy financial term breaking even.
Yes.
That's when you break even. And then after that, also there's some 11, now 15, now 20. Now you're making profit. So if your model works like that, then you stick on it and you make it work.
How do you identify your target market? Like, how did you, for your poultry business, say, this is my target market?
The thing is, maybe let me tell you the story of how I started this egg business. Yeah? When I was
City eggs.
doing yes, city eggs. When I started city eggs. When I was doing my masters, ne? When I was doing a master's degree, I got a bursary for that. And I took that bursary money, I went and bought a bucky, ne? With an idea that I looked at where I was. I was at Pretoria, the Pretoria CBD. People lapha, they eat ikota, they call it isibhono. They eat, ikota, fries, faka fries, amazambane, like potatoes, fried potatoes, potato chips inside the bread and stuff like that. Acha, they love that thing. They love the thing. So when I was walking around, looking at the place because I've only been there for a year. Oh, yeah, okay, this is where I want to go to. I bought it back with an intention of selling potatoes to these guys, like transporting potatoes from the market to them, distributing it in the CBD. And then what happened? I didn't do my research properly. When I got there, the potatoes that they use for chips are not your ordinary potatoes. They have a cultivar or a type of a potato that they need. And that type of a potato, I mean, I calculated on the type that they don't use, which is cheaper. And when I got there now with the baki, ready to buy potatoes, I found out no, the potatoes that they use, these guys are expensive. So I had to change quickly. I had to change quickly, and I saw the second thing that I saw was eggs. They were popular. Everybody was eating eggs. Like they eat it like a taxi rank. They will boil 30 eggs and have them on the tray and go with an aromat and sell them for 3 rands. They
And, and I never thought, like, for me, and I'm sorry to say this, but like,
yeah.
I would think to myself, who buys eggs, cooked eggs? Like,
that's a good thing. That's a good thing about going out. It's at a certain point going out of the place where you grew up and you used to. For real, at home, man, it's at home. It's where you're from now. At home, you don't really see people boiled eggs and eating them. It's not that big. But when I got here, it was a different story. And then I discovered a wholesaler of eggs. Ne? I discovered a wholesaler of eggs. I went in immediately. It's around the same market where the veggies are. I went in immediately. And I bought a pack. It was a six tray pack there. 6 tray pack. And I went and I started selling it where I was staying in the complex where I was staying. I started selling at work. People were buying and whatnot. And I said, you know what, man? Let me get a spot where I'm going to, because now I was doing research. I was doing masters, so I wasn't supposed to be at work all day as much as I needed to be at work. But the only thing that they measured me by was deliverables that I had to deliver at the end of the month when we are reporting. So I said I'm going to dissect my time. I'm not gonna wake up at 8 and go to campus. I'm gonna wake up and at 8 I'm going to go to campus. At 2 I'm coming back and I'm selling when the guys are coming back from the trains from work, going on the train. There was a spot that I got near the train station. I'm going to stop here from 2 up until it's dark 7, and then I'm going to go back to go to campus and work until 12, recover my hours, do my work, and come back at that time. And it was convenient for me. I did that for a year. I wake up at 5 every morning, go to the gym. From the gym, I went to campus at 8, came back at 2, sold the eggs. So it was the buying and selling, the buying and selling, the buying and selling. So you understand, as you start investing in that idea, you start seeing things that you didn't see when you were outside.
when people think business, they never really think ground. Like, it's always an idea that business is sort of fancy. Like, you out there waking up in the morning, going to the gym, going to campus, going to sell eggs. Like, selling eggs is not fancy. How do you get that bravery to say, I'm going to go emakete, and because my target market is there, and I'm going to sell? Because selling is not easy. Like, you need to have away, and you can tell with about like something you take for advantage. Even emataflin, nabantu abadayisa omama abadayisa emataflin, they have a strategy on how to sell. They know their customers, and they have a way of selling. Like how do you build that skill of selling?
If you want something, if you want something, you build it. First day when I went to that spot, ne? First day when I went to the spot, I went with my cousin. He talks, and he calls people across the road. Hey, Maya, they call him Maya this side. Maya. I can't do that. I couldn't do that. I came with him for the second time, and the third time,
Mm.
the people started getting used to being here. They started coming. That's when the conversation started. That's why I got the confidence of calling them across the road now, even the ones that I didn't know. So it was just fortunate for me that my cousin was also around town. So I wasn't using him. I didn't have it as a plan so that, oh, let me lose this guy. It just happened like that. But for any person who's listening to this, that's actually when I reflected on it, that's actually a strategy to use. It's actually a strategy. If you have a sister that's talkative and is loved by people, use them. First day, second day, the third day, because the first fright ne, comes from, okay, at this time I used to study, I used to do this thing, so now I have to go stand there. Yo, who am I going to meet there? How are they going to look at me? Are they not going to be rough with me? Are they speaking the language? You understand? Zokolosm, do they come rushing in your head? So to eliminate those, just find someone who can and go with them there. And the second day, I'm telling you, the frights. If you are frightened about 10 things the last time, today is going to be five. The next day it's going to be three. Until there comes a day where there's going to be none. So you build it and you practice it. And the way to do that is because I didn't like eggs. I won't lie and say I'm passionate about eggs. No. I wanted freedom. I wanted to be part of business. I wanted to trade. I saw how it's done. People are doing it and stuff like that. And I wanted something for myself. And then I started that.
So
It
at some
becomes a
point
driver.
you were buying the eggs, you were buying the eggs from somebody else and then
Mm.
selling. And
Mm.
you then started having your own place where you breed you breed the chickens.
I'll forgive you for that. But not really breathing the chickens, eh? Breathing the chickens, I'm still going into. Uh, what I started doing. Oh, let me just tell you how it happened. Eh? I
Okay.
remember I told you I was going. I would go to campus, ne? After selling
Yes.
and before selling, I'd go to campus and then go sell and come back to campus. When I was preparing for my orders, because I'll start delivering orders, delivering, I think almost all over CBD. I had customers like maybe like 50 customers at the time, 50 to 100. I couldn't count them. But I had a WhatsApp group and a Facebook page where I would sell. People would send me messages. Hey, we want eggs, because my eggs were fresh and they were affordable. That was the key, and they eat eggs. So what happened? I would prepare these orders before I go selling, and drop them off and go sell. While I was preparing the orders at the back of my buggy, this guy who worked at the opposite building from us came to me. Said, "Hey, man, I see you here every day. What are you doing?" Ne? And then I told him, no, I'm preparing orders. But I told him those, how much are eggs? It was 35 rands a tray. That's how much I was selling it because I was getting them cheap. So it was 35 rand. And then he bought a tray. And then he told me this guy was working in a department that incubates uh, agricultural small businesses and agricultural stuff, and he had bought a piece of land 100 kilometers away from Pretoria called Bela Bela. It's in Limpopo. And he told me his vision about it. He wants to bring in small agricultural entrepreneurs, agripreneurs, that's what they call them nowadays. And he wants to build them up, help them get funding, help them flourish, and let them fly. And then I was like, okay. Luckily, at that time, I had savings and I had pulled some money where, because remember, when I got to Pretoria, I already knew how to bid for tenders. So I did small tenders everywhere, here and there, here and there. So I put that money together, and the money that I was earning from my bursary and all those savings that I had. And I said, he told me this week, next week I was there to see the place. And the following month I was putting up the structure. I knew that was God. And I went with it. I put up the structure with the plan of putting in 250 chickens. Yeah? And I put in 250 chickens. Or I started with the 100. I put in 250. And then it went up and went up until I had 1,000 in that house. And one layer chicken costs $100. So you can calculate how much you need to put in just for the chicken, not counting the cages that you need, not counting the labor, and not counting all the things that comes with it, the house, the structure, the rent, because it was not my farm. So so all those things were costs. At that time I didn't have time to calculate. Sometimes you don't have time to calculate when you're deep in it. You just go with it. That's what happened to me. So that's how I got to have a chicken house and produce eggs. I wasn't breeding chickens though. I was buying chickens from a breeder. There's a special types of chickens that you need to buy. I bought point of lace because I didn't rear them either. Rearing them is like growing them. I didn't grow them either. I just bought them because I just wanted it. And the model that I was using, hmm, and the model that I was using there, it didn't make sense for me to sell a tray each. It didn't make sense at that time. So I were there in Bella. I didn't come to Pretoria anymore. I got some shops because one thing about eggs, they are always in shortage. There's always a demand of eggs. And reason being, it takes a day for a chicken to produce an egg, and you eat it within a second. And you don't eat one, you eat two. So you've taken it taken 2 days for the chicken to make those eggs, and you eat them within a minute. So that's why there's always a demand of eggs. So I realized that when I got there. So people are always crying. I ended up not marketing. I marketed once. Once I went and sold once. Like the second month, people were calling and I couldn't supply. I ended up supplying one shop because taking everything. I couldn't supply enough, and they were paying me good for that.
Wow. I'm just looking at the supply chain. I'm looking at how you started at the front end of selling the eggs and then got into now the big end of the production. Your vision for City Eggs, say 5 years.
Ooh, it's going to be very disruptive. So the vision of City X is going to really be City X. That's what I want to do. It's going to be really, really, really City X. When we were sitting with the team started strategizing, like at the back of my mind, when this thing had started, I chose the name City Eggs because I wanted it to be City Eggs. But then the way it grew and took shape, I needed to go and learn in the farm. And then that's what God planned. It's okay. You're gonna go and learn this thing first and come back, and I'm gonna bring you back into the city, and you're going to do it again. The vision for City Eggs, we're going to make eggs cheaper and affordable. almost. Let me see. You're buying a 60 now for how much? For 120 rands at the shop. Well, now it's winter, maybe the prices are even higher. But in summer, you're
And
buying your eggs for 120 rands,
eggs
60.
are expensive, amongst other things,
They're
but
expensive.
eggs are expensive.
Yes, they're expensive. So if you pay that much, if you pay that much for a 60, we will formulate a model where you are going to get like 560s for $100.
How
Five
you get how
sixties
many?
every month. Hmm?
Okay, and is
You get
that to
five
like a
560. You
five
get you get
sixties?
300. Yeah,
So
you
is
get
this
300
like to a
eggs
shop
for.
or to a direct? Is this like a business to business sale or is it a business to customer sale?
It's a business to customer model. It's a B2C model, and it's been integrated in a way that's going to blow everybody away. And we're going to put we are prepared to put so much into marketing it and growing it and expanding to other cities. It's just going to be an city operate. It's a model that's going to be operating in a city. It's built for the city. As the name City X says, it's built for the city.
And you are here saying that you want to be a leader and you're going to be a leader in your industry. And it's going to be disruptive. Your innovations are going to the industry, disrupt the industry. What do I need to do to be part of
Winning
the
method.
winning team?
The winning method. The reason I said disruptive, because when you're disruptive, you are solving a problem. And remember, with every problem, there's someone who benefits from that problem immensely. So if you're solving a problem for the people in numbers, it's going to upset that person's cash flow or income or whatever. So that's how the business becomes disruptive. First, what you need to do, you see a problem and then you think around it. Okay, this when you see a problem, that's your in. That's your in. A problem in your industry, no matter what you do as an entrepreneur, a problem in your industry, that's your in. Think around it enough, you're gonna find a solution. And if you find a solution, like protect it like an egg. Ding, ding, ding. But protect it like your baby. Protect it like your baby, and then believe that it's going to be done. Because when I started eggs, or when we started eggs, now we're a team. When we started eggs, I didn't think about this thing because I haven't seen the problems that I can solve. Like the problems that were in the egg industry were far-fetched for me because I wasn't in eggs. But as I started selling, I got closer and closer and closer to the problem. I saw it better. I put myself in a position of getting coming up with the better solution. So that's what our vision is in 5 years, and that's what you need to find a problem, and when you solve a problem, you're going to disrupt people. You're going to disrupt people. So to a winning formula is finding a problem and be patient with
It's fun.
yourself. Think about think, yes, keep refining it, keep refining it in your head while you and until you get power to plan it, execute what you can execute. You can do other things on the side. You don't have to do one thing. You can do other things on the side because now, as we are starting afresh, this idea is being funded by other revenues that are coming from other sides, and but it's my baby. It's our baby.
Thank you for the interview. When I started the SA Entrepreneur, I had an idea
Mhm.
of such. This was the goal.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Probably we'll have another interview in the future where we look back at what we're talking about in this interview and say, okay, now where it is. Or is it here? Is it there? What happened? Like going through the journey. And my idea is that since we have started this, I'll just request that we do it maybe every after maybe 3 years. I would like to take an opportunity and document the journey and walk the journey with this platform. You understand? Until we get where we're supposed to get. Understand?
What advice would you give somebody that wants to get into business?
Be ready to sacrifice a lot of money, a lot of time, but it doesn't start with money. It starts with prioritizing your time. Other people, when you go into business, other people have savings. You don't have savings. That's your investment. Even if you save to invest. You don't just save, Jay, to have money and go and buy the Christian Louboutin. No, 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 no. You save to invest, and that's a sacrifice that you need to make. First, your time. Second, your money. Because if you can't sacrifice your time, business will call you to go to Limpopo where you don't know anybody, where you don't even speak the language, where you will start speaking English every day. Mind you, ukhulele emlazi, ufundele ezolwazi. And when you are in it, well, once you let business isolate you from your ordinary life, that's when you're going to feel like there's no going back. And then you get consistent automatically. You are forced to be consistent because now we have been isolated. Now that's when you
Yeah.
get into this.
Thank you for watching, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the SA Entrepreneur. Click on that notification button so that you'll know whenever we post our videos. Remember to like, share, and comment in the comment section
Yes.
below. Thank you so much, Simphiwe, the founder of City Eggs.